Hey guys, Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training, driving as usual. So we thought I'd yak the screen a little bit in regards to Bruno and layering in the Stim Collar. Now, you probably never heard it called the Stim Collar. That's my verbiage, and that's what I call an ECollar, shock collar, whatever you want to call it. But I call it a Stim Collar for a reason. It's short for stimulation. It also throws most people for a loop because they don't understand what a Stim Collar is. I never heard that. What's a Stim Collar? Never heard of it. So right away, the person has their mind still open. If I say, they ask me, what's that on the dog's neck? And they already kind of have an idea of what it is. They're just asking because they've already got a preconceived idea of their attitude towards the tool. So by saying Stim Collar, it allows me to leave their mind open for long enough for me to respond to educate them, right? Instead of letting them already have their preconceived ideas and notions, and then me telling them an ECollar and them going, oh, and all snooty and walking away, and they've already got their brain closed off, and they're already gonna close their brain off. So when I say Stim Collar, they're going, what is that? Their brain is still open and receptive to receive information. That's the reason that I call it a Stim Collar. For the couple reasons. For that reason, but also because I treat the Stim Collar, the ECollar, as a communication tool in low for most of my work. Okay, there are things that I need it for other things, but in a general sense, the overall foundational way that I break it in, the way that I use it, is on a low stimulation, a low level that you teach the dog to turn off. Okay. So if you saw me working with Bruno, that's the first thing I'm doing right now. Now, a lot of people get confused because they think that they need to have the dog react to it. In the beginning, no, okay? Because I want to leave it on low. All I'm trying to do is condition the dog to start to understand that his responding to an action that he already knows, something that's already conditioned into the dog, he's already knowledgeable with it, and then the stim goes away with time and repetition, and again, 2 or 3 of these turnoffs that we're going to do with the animal, you're getting the dog to understand that he is the one turning it off by complying with something that he already knows. And that goes to the level of making sure that the dog really understands the command. One of my first commands is what I call a conditioned heel. I say the dog's name, and I say, Bruno, with me, and I take off the other way, and he learns real quick with the proper conditioning that means he's supposed to hit my side on the get-go. In other words, right away. There's no hesitation. I call it a conditioned heel. I do that work with my leashes and all my other tools and a lot of conditioning. So by this time, this dog has already been through the communication baseboard, no, good, and yes, all the things that I put into the lexicon and the vocabulary that he understands is there for me to work with. So the first turnoff, what you're trying to do is get the dog to understand that the stimulation goes away when he complies to something that he already knows. So it's important to make sure you're picking things that are very well conditioned into the animal, that he understands with time and repetition, it'll start to add up to him that, ooh, when I reply, that goes away, okay? And we're not putting it up to a level that's going to stress the dog out or punish the dog, or it's at a very low level. It's just a tingle, something that he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand what that tingle is, but we're going to give him the understanding. What are we trying to do? We're trying to condition the dog to understand that when he complies to something that he already knows, it goes away, okay? And then the turnoffs that we're choosing and what we're doing with the 3 turnoffs, we're going to do 3 of these different things. And when we're doing them, we're basically picking things that are very easy for the dog to understand because they're so well conditioned into the animal with his daily process. If I say kennel, he jumps into the kennel box. We're going to be doing that with one of them. When I say, Bruno, with me, he's already got a conditioned heel. He knows he's got to book it to me. So then we get into all 3, and we'll go into it more. I don't want to elaborate too far because I want you to see it when it's working and see how it's working, and then start to be educated in how we introduce this to the animal, and we condition the dog to get that basic platform. Think of it like the communication baseboard of no, good, and yes. I want to set in a communication baseboard with him that's on a low impact impulse that he is winning, so that we're giving him the power. And then he gets high on the fact that, oh, when I comply, it goes away. And it's not because he's punishing him. It's just that it's there, and now that little feeling went away. And with time and consistency and pattern and routine, he's going to figure out what you want him to do, and he's going to reach to try to get it to go away just by virtue that he's winning. Not because he's being punished, just because he's starting to understand. Remember, he's already learned to learn. He understands what correction is. He understands a whole bunch of things, and the way I treat him in my daily processes in regards to his vocabulary, in regards to what he's supposed to be doing for me, all those things he understands. Our relationship has been established in that respect. It's kind of like when mom says something, you know what the results are if you don't comply, right? She says it once, you might get away with it. She says it twice, that voice changes. The third time, you might get a smack on the ass, right? But see, but you know those rules because that's what mom's communication baseboard is with you. It's no different. I don't have to go to punishment, but I might, if it's at a certain point in his learning process, then I need to teach him that there's consequences and he needs to comply. But I don't start out that way. I don't start hitting him with a baseball bat and expect him to understand what's going on. He has no clue. He doesn't understand. That's my first job, to be able to get him to understand the concepts that I am conveying to him. And he wins by understanding it, and then there's all kinds of rewards and drive states and all kinds of things that happen that tell him that is the right answer. And that's how we condition an animal in a general sense, right? So there's a definite way that I use the tool and how I condition him. The first initial communication baseboard with the Stim Collar. And there is. That's why I call it a lexicon, right? There's a reason that I call it that. It's because the dog will start to understand what the rules are in relationship to this new tool that's been put on his neck, right? So, and we'll keep building, we'll keep growing the dog, and his understanding makes it to a point where you can get to a point where the dog will learn all kinds of things. Well, not really. And the rule is that we never teach the dog anything. We only reaffirm what he already understands, right? That's the general rule with an ECollar. And we're going to get to a point where we're using it as an off-leash training tool, and gives us a lot more ability to get responses out of the dog. So I'll give you a good example. Freedom, I always tell my customers, is your worst enemy when you're first starting. Because when the dog learns that he can get away with something and you don't have a leash on him, he's going to learn from that as much as he is anything else. Excuse me, I'm trying to shut that window so we get some better sound going. Give me a second here. There we go. Okay, so that being the case, it's all about the communication baseboard that I have set up. Now we're layering in another communication with another tool that he doesn't understand. That's going to give us a lot more ability to have off-leash and all kinds of things we can do with it, right? It's a very powerful tool, not in respect to hurting the dog and punishing him, but powerful in what you can do with it. It's just an amazing tool, and you see people that have the ability to work with these Stim Collars to get the dog to do all kinds of fancy things, right? So I'm just trying to educate you guys enough that you start to understand. Again, what do I always say? It's not the tool. The tool is only as good as the person that's using it, right? That's what matters, okay? My skill level goes to a certain point, but I don't get to the point where some of them do, that they're really doing all kinds of fancy stuff with it. I could if I wanted to, but I find what I need and what I want to use it for, and that's all I need or want, right? I don't need to take it to the extreme where I'm having to rely on that Stim Collar to a point where it's what the dog's responding to that degree, right? We want to do the off-leash work. We want to use the tool in the way it's supposed to be used to reaffirm that I have control of the dog even when he's in a distance away and there's no collar or no leash on him, right? So we'll get there, and you'll see Bruno's attitude change and what happens with it. There's all kinds of things you can do with it. Example of that is we can use it for pressure work and a knee po-po type of thing, right? You ever watch Buddy work? He's been through all this, and with a Dutch Shepherd genetics behind him, he's got a lot of that pure heart, pure soul, and go, and I can always use the Stim Collar to get in there and condition even more of that if I wanted to, right? So there's all kinds of things you can do with it. It's just understanding the psychology of the dog. All right, I'll let you guys go. We've got 2 more turnoffs after this one. I'm going to be working on this individual turnoff intermittently over the next few days. And then when I'm ready to go to the next turnoff, I'll do a video on it, and then you'll see what the second turnoff is. We've got to do 3 of them with the goal of conveying the thought to the animal, what the collar is all about, and setting in that communication base board and the lexicon with the Stim Collar, right? It's another communication tool. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good day. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training, signing off on the freeways driving up the Cajon Pass. Talk to you later.